Sorry, I'm running a little behind tonight. Got everything is a mess right now. Ugh. Let's go. Yeah. Anyway, I had to go and do an unexpected phone repair this evening. I had cracked my screen and needed to get that fixed. But now we're here. Now we're live. Move this light up a little bit so it's not doing that, really bad glare. Now, like I said, sorry, we're getting started a little late tonight. I had technical difficulties. Welcome in. Thank you for the likes. Good to see everybody. Oh, don't crack the screen on your phone when that's what you use as your overhead camera. It's bad juju. Anyway, what am I doing? Okay, so quick recap. Last night, instead of playing D&D, we did some mini painting because we've kind of shifted the schedule for this week. And so I was able to get the meltas done for the Dreadnought. So now we're going to start working on the shoulder pieces. I think I need to do a little bit of touch up on the black, but we'll do that as we get into it. I need to clear the Dreadnought out of the way because I'm going to have to do a little bit of work with the airbrush tonight. Because I think that will be the best way to get these little lanterns, incense things, whatever they are, base coated on the mini. What am I doing? Just to brighten them up, to make them a brighter color. Trying to figure out how to put rubber gloves on. But yes, I'm sorry. We're getting started very, very late tonight, so we won't be able to go as long, but it is what it is. Oh, the joys of streaming and content creation when you have a real life. Anyway. I said I don't know if this is thin enough to just drop straight in the airbrush. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But I had to, clear painted bits of the mini off of my desk so I don't have to worry about overspray. Oh. One moment, I need to go plug the hose in. Sorry for the noise. Apparently my compressor ran out of air at some point, so we're airing that up real quick. I know it's very, very loud, and I'm so sorry. So we'll be right back once that airs up and I can go turn the compressor off again, because I can't afford a nice airbrush compressor that is quiet. So we work with what we've got. So just give me a couple minutes and we'll get all this sorted out. I meant to be home earlier to make sure all this was set up. But like I said, unfortunately, I cracked the screen on my phone and had to get that taken care of. And due to some misleading advertisements where I was told, oh, it'd only be 45 minutes, ended up being over 2 hours to replace my screen. So waiting for the compressor to finish. It shouldn't take that long because it's a very small compressor, but I do apologize for the noise, and we will get to painting momentarily. So we're working on these outside shoulder pieces for the Dreadnought. Day went pretty well. I mean, aside from I think 4 tornadoes touched down, or they think 4 tornadoes touched down in one of the next towns over where I work, fairly close to where I work. I was not affected, and we've had rain dumping on us all day, so flooding all over the place, so that's been fun. Cracked the screen on my phone, had to get my phone screen replaced, so just everything all at once. Gotta love Murphy's Law. And then I wasn't able to come home and get things set up. One moment while I shut off the compressor so you don't have to hear that noise again. And if I use 150 pounds of air and the amount of time it takes to paint like 2 tiny pieces, I'm in trouble. So let me grab the airbrush, like I said, because I'm not super sure that I can just go ahead and dump the paint in here. I'm gonna put a few drops of airbrush thinner in here. And we'll drop a little bit of paint in there. And grab the old toothpick to mix stuff up. And hope for the best. You gotta love experimentation. Because I am not used to using this airbrush yet. But we'll see how this goes. Oh, hopefully that works. We'll find out. If it's super runny and need to add a little bit more paint or what. Like I said, we're doing a very small amount on these shoulders. Just right up here at the top. Trying not to get an excessive amount everywhere. But airbrush is definitely a skill that I'm still learning. And yes, this is a super cheap Hobby Lobby airbrush, so I don't expect immaculate results with it. But as long as I get the effect that I want with it, I am happy. All right. And of course, my problem is I have way too much paint in there. So I need to remove the excess paint. Like I said, it's not a whole lot, so I don't mind wasting a little bit. But I do have to clean this immediately, otherwise it can potentially clog the airbrush permanently. And my trash can is way across the room. So dump that. Airbrush cleaner. Okay. Oh, just, another wonderful day in the office. That's actually the first time I've said that in my office. Most of the time I'm referring to the truck that I drive every day as being my office. But doing a tiny amount, had to do a tiny amount of airbrush work, and now I gotta spend the time cleaning this stupid thing. But that should be good enough for now, and I will break that down completely after the stream. But I think that should be clean enough to continue working for the evening. Oh, what a mess. All right. So I get a little overspray with the airbrush, but it's all good. That should work for what I need. It doesn't have to be completely perfect. We're just gonna work with what we've got. So I'm gonna use a little bit of this Cassandora yellow, which does a nice effect for like lanterns and whatnot. Get a little bit of water on the brush. And that white paint is still very liquid, so we may have to wait a minute on that. That's one of the problems with learning new things. They don't always go exactly how you intend. So we'll give that white a little bit longer to dry. We'll go ahead and touch up our black on the top and make our way back to those eventually. And because we use a wet palette, we can revive our Abaddon black that's already over here. We had a fairly good amount on the palette. So we'll just quickly get this blocked back in. Back to the original color that it is supposed to be. Just trying to keep everything nice and smooth. I did initially airbrush these for convenience. As I said, I'm still learning everything when it comes to airbrushing, so not the cleanest, prettiest job on them, but good enough for my needs. But easy enough to touch up. Well, hoping to have better luck with my live than kind of the rest of my day is gone, but it is what it is. And one of these days I will get back to actually playing some Space Marine 2, and maybe we can hop into a game together again. Maybe when that new Horde mode comes out. Waiting for that. That looks like it's going to be fun. But aside from the tornadoes and torrential downpour, everything is going well. And we are going to get more of this Dreadnought painted. Alright. Like I said, just doing some overspray cleanup from the little bit of airbrushing I just did. Just those little things that take a little bit of extra time while you're learning all the finer details and finer skills of painting miniatures with new tools. And it doesn't help that I also feel like super rushed tonight because I'm starting late. Hey Horde, how's it going? That Gazgul looks amazing, man. You did a really good job on him. Just saying. Yeah, like I said, just, you know, dealing with Murphy's Law today. Apparently, like 20 miles from where I work, there were like potentially 4 tornadoes that came down and touched ground, and I've had torrential downpour, so there's flooding all over the place. So it's been a fun day. And I cracked the screen on my phone and was told, you know, oh, this is going to be like a 45-minute repair. You know, 2 hours later, finally get my phone back. Fortunately, it was covered by insurance on the phone, so not a major issue, but it's all good now. The storms have moved on. You know, I wasn't personally affected by them. Unfortunately, there are some that were. Hopefully, everyone is safe and, you know, has a place to stay tonight. But the joys of living in the Midwest. All right. Now that we've got that all touched up, as I speak too soon, a couple little spots here and there, because I don't always remember to clear my desk off and get overspray on everything. But the main portions of the Dread I made sure to get off the desk that are completely painted. Don't want any overspray getting on that. Spent way too much time. I figured it up today because basically each of the TikTok videos I do is essentially 3 hours worth of work, every time I post a new update, because that's about how long I go live each time. So far, I have spent 36 hours working on this Dreadnought. It's a little crazy to think that you spent that much time on one model. But I'm definitely happy with how it's turning out. Okay. I think that's enough time for the white to have dried. Let's try that yellow again. Try the one that I already touched. I'm just trying to get it down in there, in the little recesses, to glow them up a little bit. Yes, that's much better than it was a minute ago. Try not to get too crazy with it. But you definitely want it down in there in all the little recesses. All right. Might do a little extra over here because I ended up wiping some of the white out of there, but hopefully it doesn't affect the final result too much. Wow, 1.6 thousand likes already. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, I am sorry for showing up late tonight. I like to get started at 7 o'clock, but Murphy's Law is, kicking today. Okay. Hey, who burnt my toast? How are you doing tonight? So, if you see me talking to somebody who isn't in TikTok chat, I'm also live on Twitch. Oh my goodness, really? Where's my overhead camera? What is going on? Like I said, Murphy's Law is not my biggest fan right now. Really? Sorry for the camera flying all over the place. If it comes back. There we go. Are you not going to cooperate right now? Really? one of these days, I'll have a nice stream where everything goes the way it's supposed to, and I won't be having technical difficulties all over the place. Ugh. Ah. Anyway, what am I doing? I am looking for a specific pot of paint that I know is on my desk. It is not the airbrush version of this. I'm looking for Balthazar Gold. Which is all the way over here. All right. We are back in action right again. Yes, it's right where I put it. The problem is I don't always remember where I put stuff. I leave stuff all over the place. And see, I'm already leaving paint pots out on my desk. I need to put them back where I got them from. Otherwise, you know, I'll do like I did last week and be looking all over my office for my Mornfang Brown, which was sitting behind my tablet where I couldn't see it. Hey, Henry Rose, thank you for the roses so much. Thank you, thank you. I always appreciate gifts. Oh, I have, thank you for the tiny diny there, Horde. Oh, I have, like 4 of these sitting on my desk that I printed, because I've got a couple of 3D printers to hold paint pots, and I still lose my paints, even though there's 4 of those on my desk specifically for holding paint pots. I just have the natural ability to lose my stuff constantly. But we're just very carefully using the Balthazar Gold dry brushing around these lanterns, incense burners. Hey, it's a free STL. I think I found those on Cults 3D. So if you have a 3D printer and you go to Cults 3D, I'm pretty sure that's where I got those from. Definitely a worthwhile thing to print. For the most part, yes, I only use Citadel. I do have a couple of other colors or other paints. This Pro Acryl Titanium White I bought to do the lines on this guy, and then used a contrast paint over them to kind of get that glowing effect between the rocks. And then I have a few Army Painter paints just for just to try them out, because I know you know, I need to get the full experience of painting minis, so I try different types of paints here and there as the need arises. No problem. Like I said, if you got a 3D printer, and I've got a couple of Ender 3s in the other room, which work great for printing really simple stuff. That's what I used, and just Cults 3D, Thingiverse, both really good sites for finding, you know, useful 3D printable things. I don't 3D print minis because I have a filament type printer, FDM or whatever you call it. A resin printer is on the wish list at some point, but is not currently in the cards. Maybe someday. But carefully trying to get these little cages painted and not cover up the yellow. I can go back in with a regular brush on the bottom section of them when I need to. Need to borrow my printer? Yeah. Definitely want a resin printer. Mostly to print other things to try and paint. The contest mini that I was complaining about last night is a 3D resin print. And I'm not complaining about the mini, I'm just complaining a little bit about how that contest was run, my frustrations with it. But it is what it is. It's all good. I'm not... Like I said, I was at a little bit of initial frustration with it, but it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. I just wish things had been handled a little differently in a couple of areas. There we go. Those look like they're nice and glowy. Got a little bit of backlighting in them. Rinse this brush out. And then go in with the detail brush and the Balthazar Gold that I usually use when I'm painting, which is an airbrush version by Citadel, because I spend a lot of time painting right out of the pot, even though I know you're not supposed to, but the Citadel airbrush paints are nicely thinned down and work great for little spot work. And I guess I should have waited to do the touch-up work on the black before doing these. But it's all good. And yes, these little lantern things, incense burners, whatever you call them, they're off of the upgrade sprue for Space Marines. They're supposed to go on the top of their backpacks. I just figured, you know, I'm trying to make this Dreadnought look very Black Templar-ish. Well, what says Black Templars like a couple of incense burners sitting on the tops of the shoulders? And this little cutout in the top of the plate was like a perfect match for the base of the bit that I stuck on there. I'm like, I'm not going to argue with that. It fits perfectly. It was just intended to be there, in my opinion. I said it fits with the theme of the model I'm painting, makes it look just a little bit better. Yep, Black Templars. I agree. It's supposed to be there. I mean, why would they have so many extra ones on the sprue if they weren't intended to stick on other minis? But carefully trying to get these little things done. And I'll do a quick Agrex Earthshade wash on them to bring out a little more detail. And then do some quick highlights with some Sycorax bronze. And then move on to, like, not a whole lot else on these, this section of the shoulders. Because unfortunately there's not much to them, and I don't have any extra cool bits for them. So, don't know exactly what I'm going to do, like on this section, whether I'm going to, you know, put a couple of small pieces of chain on there, or what. I have those options. I'll probably put, I was thinking of putting like an Armageddon emblem here and then putting a chain over it. I don't know. And I'll figure out something for the other side. I need to open the pack of Sword Brothers that I have, because I think they have some transfers with them that may go well on the Dreadnought, but I don't know. But this has been a process. I said, went back and figured it out by all the little update videos that I've made. Apparently I spent somewhere around 36 hours on this Dreadnought so far. Don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed every minute of it. But it has been an extensive amount of time. As I use my regular brush to paint metallics with, because I'm not paying attention tonight. But it's all good. Very carefully add our Agrex Earthshade across parts of this. I think this part of the mini will go faster than every other piece I've painted so far. Just because these shoulder parts are fairly simple. Alrighty. We'll let that dry a little bit. Alright, this goes off to the side. And you'll see me jump back and forth between paints and colors so many times. Because, like, I'll be in the middle of painting one piece and then, like, a little bit of inspiration will hit me. And I'll be like, oh no, I gotta do this now. Oh wait, I forgot about that. Let me paint that real quick. I just bounce all over the place. You know, just a little bit of ADD going on. But load up some of this lead belcher. Kind of hit this connection point where the shoulder comes together. I'll say lead belcher is one of my favorite paints to dry brush with if you're trying to get a good metallic look, as you get that, you know, some of those good brush streaks in there without the complete coverage. Looks so good. Sometimes, you know, you don't want to add extra to your brush. You just kind of got to just get in there and dig at it a little bit. Like I said, some of this, you know, will be so covered up by other parts of the model, you'll never see, you know, teeny tiny little mistakes. But there we go on those. Let's not stab the wall with the shiny glittery paintbrush. Turn our paper towel because we've fairly muddied that section of it up. Okay. Now we can move back to our lanterns. I think that's safe at this point. And grab our Sycorax bronze. which we're dealing with the curse of the Citadel paint pots. Get that dried crust. So annoying. I have to be very careful. So I just got paint all over my hands. That's why we keep extra paper towels at the ready. So we can wipe that off and not transfer it onto the model that we're painting. So using a very fine detail brush for this and putting on the old man glasses. Let me scoot forward in here so hopefully everybody can see what I'm doing. Very carefully hitting these little X sections on the lantern to brighten them up. And as usual, when I'm painting super fine details, I get a little quiet because I'm trying to focus. Focus, Daniel-san. Just brighten up these upright pieces a little bit. And some highlights here and there. Around the top. Of course, on the top of the cross up here. Gonna bring out a little bit of that sparkle. Then along this bottom lip here. And just a quick edge highlight across there. So I like to do these one at a time to be able to show the difference. Like this one looks quite a bit brighter than this one. You know, just a few dots of paint here and there. Make sure we got all the excess water off of the brush. Go back in, paint these little X's again. Tiny, tiny details. along these uprights. Yeah, getting that metallic blob of death at the end of the brush. That is the frustrating thing about using metallics. Every once in a while you get this blob of paint right on the end of your brush, and it's super frustrating. But you're just catching little bits here and there. Just trying to brighten this thing back up a little bit. Thank you for the likes. Likes always help the live. So keep hitting that like button. Bring more people in here to share in the experience. Of course, my hands want to start shaking again, which is always fun. All right. Lanterns are painted. Let's go ahead and grab our Stormhost Silver. And do some quick little highlights on this shoulder area. Need to remember to keep this up here where you folks can see exactly what I'm doing. But just kind of grabbing some edges here and there where metal might have scraped, or some extra lights hitting it. All that good stuff. You know, just a couple little spots here and there. Doesn't have to be super in-depth, because most of these areas will not readily be seen under the arm of the Dreadnought. But we still want to add a little bit of extra detail here and there, because why not? And as frustrating as they are, metallics are one of my favorite things to paint with. Because if you are fortunate enough, you can get some really good effects with, you know, just a tiny amount of paint. There we go. Get a little bit of extra brightness in there. Alright, I think it's this one I have to touch up the top of again, because I just can't control my painting sometimes. Especially when it comes to dry brushing. So let's get this blacked out one more time. Trying to be careful so we keep our layers of paint nice and smooth. And sometimes, you know, lighter colored metallics don't like being covered up. So you got to do a couple of coats. Just make sure the paint's fairly dry before you add a little bit more. I think that probably has it good enough. To call that one good. Alright, get our brush rinsed. And then we'll go cycle through our edge highlight colors, because like I said, fortunately with these pieces, there's not a whole lot to worry about on them. I just have to what was I saying? I just have to figure out what I'm doing with like this front section of the shoulder. Oh. Stay hydrated. And don't use Monster to stay hydrated. It is a bad choice. But it is also delicious. We're grabbing out some more of our Dark Reaper. This is our first edge highlight we will be doing. Make sure you get it thinned out fairly well. Next stream, I will have a clean water dish. I said I was running way behind tonight and wanted to get painting. So I kind of went with what was on my desk already. Fortunately, most of the colors for Black Templars are very, very dark. Lots of black. So I don't have to worry about a little bit of dirty paint water affecting my paint color too much. But I do like to start the evening with a clean water dish. This is my preferred way of doing my painting for the evening. There's a kind of a weird seam here, so I'm trying to get a little bit of extra paint on either side of it. There we go. Just to bring this out a little bit more so you can see that front edge a little bit better. And with your first edge highlight, you can be a little bit thicker if you're doing multiple rounds of edge highlighting, which is what I typically do. And then I'll go back with a much nicer, finer brush to get the other details. But we're getting there. And yes, I will go back and paint this Crusader seal as one extra bit that I had plenty of. To throw on this guy. Let's see, by doing your edge highlighting, the individual panels stand out a lot better. Make everything easier to see with the dark paints that we're using. But again, you know, carefully working around all these hard edges, which is fairly easy. If you've got a nice sharp edge like this to do your edge highlighting, it's the little recessed bits here and there that get a little bit difficult. But it is not overly complex. But there you go. That looks much better than just the flat black. Okay, I think that one's good all the way around for the first edge highlight. I'm going to do our typical rinse the brush real quick. Make sure we get water back in it. Load it up again. And start on the other side. And keep in mind, when you're painting minis, it's these, little details all over the place that, if you pay attention to the small stuff, you can see some big changes with how it looks with the final product. Which is one of the reasons I really prefer doing the sub-assembly method, where I paint and put the model together in several different pieces, because sometimes the pieces that you want to paint are very difficult to get to if you go ahead and glue it all together from the start. So definitely recommend the sub-assembly method for painting minis. Get your chunks of the model put together, paint them, and then glue the chunks together. I think you will always get better results painting minis that way. Especially if you want, highly detailed models. Because a lot of the details get hidden by other pieces, so you can't paint them if you fully assemble. Oops. Went a little wide on that one, but it's fine. Just adds a little on the finished product. And here I am, missing entire parts of things that I need to edge highlight because I'm only focusing on one specific part, which I will do constantly. But I always see it as I'm going along. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that part too. I am being a horrible streamer tonight, not keeping this where you guys can see what I'm doing. Again, sorry for getting quiet. That little weird seam there kind of throws me off. So try and make sure I'm fully paying attention to what I'm doing on that little bit. Touch up a little blowout right there. But it's all good. I mean, it's probably far enough under there no one will ever see it, so every once in a while I overreact to getting a little bit of paint where I don't want it. But I always need to remember that this first edge highlight has to be a little bit wider than the subsequent one that I'll be doing. To get the full effect of the edge highlights. And come here a second. See exactly what that's going to look like on there. To know where else I need to hit some edge highlights. Just need a little bit more paint. Still going with this. Good every once in a while to rinse out your brush completely. Otherwise you get like little chunks of dried paint in your brush. And remember, keep your paints fairly thin to get good coverage, or to keep it flowing properly and to get good coverage. All these little tiny little spots right here. But you gotta paint them all. It's like edges are like Pokemon. Gotta catch them all. Alright. Back to our first one that we missed all of this under here. But just keep working your way around, working your way around. Make sure you're getting both sides equally. Thank you for the likes. Saw a couple little hearts floating up. There they go again. More hearts. Sorry, got some, what is that, a Hot Pocket and a Coke? I don't know what emojis are. I'm old. I'm so old. I don't know what the kids are into these days. Other than trouble most of the time. Dawn Air and iced tea. Don't know what a Dawn Air is. Shawarma. Okay. The only reason why I know the word shawarma is because of Avengers. Shawarma. I'm sure it's delightful food. Just have never tried it. And I'm all about trying food. I mean, if you could see my belly, you could tell I like food. And I need to quit being lazy and work on getting rid of the belly before it causes problems. One of those skinny fat guys. Most of me is skinny except for my belly, which is fat. I said, it looks good. I said, had never really tried it. I thought that's what it was, but like I said, I'm not super familiar with all types of foreign cuisine. Yeah, like just getting rid of that spare tire, love handles, muffin top, your dicky doo, when your belly stick out farther than your dicky doo. Whatever term you want to refer to it as, it's always hard to get rid of that. Once you let it happen, sorry about whacking the microphone. Once you let that happen, it's just, you're in trouble. Okay, and before we go in and do that second edge highlight, let's get this little Crusader seal painted on the front and put our paints back where they belong so I'm not losing stuff. Okay. Grab our Balthazar Gold and our metallic brush, the right brush this time. And get the shield painted first and foremost. Okay. Almost 40, so it catches up on it. Yes, it does. 40 has been a couple years passed for me. So I resemble the statement. Okay. Shields are painted. But yep, I am a member of the over 40 club, unfortunately. But as I was telling another mini painter friend on TikTok earlier today, you have to get older. You got no choice in that, but you never have to grow up, which is why I am 42 going on 15. Because I'm an overgrown child. And I do not regret it at all. Alright, make sure you don't have too much paint on your brush. Otherwise, stuff goes everywhere when you're trying to do fine details. But I'm trying to make sure I do get some color all over this guy, so it's not just a giant solid block of black. Gotta keep it interesting. So definitely recommend. And I think it goes for any large solid color on a mini. Get some extra colors in it. Like, you don't have to make it look gaudy and excessive, but do try and get some extra colors on it. It makes it look more finished and more natural than, you know, just like a big monotone block of plastic. At least that is my advice. Oh, tiny details. But that's all minis. I'm really looking forward to getting these next couple of pieces done, because once these next couple of pieces done, we get to the fun part. And everybody wants to get to the fun part of their mini. It's like every mini has that part that stands out on them. For the Brutalis, it's definitely the claws. Alright. Got a nice base coat of our corn red that we are so fond of. Set that back in there. Let's start shaking up our Blood Angels red. Just a quick swipe across the ribbon on there. Front and back, don't neglect the back of your pieces. Just adds a little extra. And we're all about being a little extra. Otherwise, we wouldn't spend so much time painting plastic. And just a touch of Agraxar shade right around the top of that shield. And I'll get a little bit on the face that it's connected to and let that dry. Because if you got a little bit on that black, it'll hide it as it dries. Down to the local novelty store earlier, they had a ton of those models. And I bet every one of them was super expensive. I mean, you know my birthday's coming up, you can buy me some, Beth. It was a novelty store or a hobby store? Because most of the time novelty stores don't carry Warhammer. You're gonna ask which ones you don't have. Store has Pokemon cards, Funkos, and models. I mean, I have most of them I need. I just need duplicates of a bunch of them. And these models aren't cheap, so I don't expect you to buy any of them for me. I'm not going to demand gifts from my niece. I was joking. I said, just the one I'm working on right now is like an $80 mini, so, no, save your money. Well, yes, they are, but I said, I still have this one to finish, this one to put together and paint. I have High Marshal Helbrecht, which is the leader for the army, which he's like 3 miniatures on one base. I have Chaplain Grimaldus, which is 4 minis in that box. I have a squad of Sword Brothers, and it's just, I have plenty to paint right now, so I don't need any extra plastic right now. I appreciate the offer, though. Okay, I think those are dry enough to grab my fancy brush. Grab a little bit of this Evil Sun Scarlet out. Like, this part is going to take next to no paint whatsoever. A little bit of the excess off. Doing a little edge highlighting real quick. There we go. There's one. Oh. And I really can't afford to be spending any extra money on plastic right now, because we're planning, well, not really planning, we've got our big vacation for the year planned to go to Epic Universe for our anniversary. So I need to stop spending money and book our flights. Okay. Thank you for the likes, Amy. Much appreciated. I need to get back by your page and see what you're working on. I have been slacking so much. Well, I guess I've been caught up in my own little world. I need to see what everybody else is doing again. I try and keep up, but I've been so busy at work, training new drivers, so it makes it a little bit difficult to keep up with everybody's little projects. Apparently, Sisters Rhino and Gold Leaf and some terrain with rest. Ooh, Gold Leaf on a Rhino. I bet that's fun. I'll have to look at that, you know, if you've got updated posts. See how that's coming out. Like, talking to somebody last night about, you know, maybe at some point in the future doing some, like, electroplated custodies. Figuring out how to do that process. I think that would be way too cool. Because I've seen it done. I know it can be done. Do like electroplated custodies with some like really fine chopped up velvet for the plumes. See if I could glue it on there. I don't know how well that would work. Did gold leaf on my St. Mina, and the reception was good, so I plan on doing an army in gold. Yeah, I'll bet. Like I said, I've seen the electroplated custodies before. I'm like, oh, that looks so cool. If I had the time and patience and knew how to do it, that'd be an awesome way to do Helbrecht. But I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to paint him. The missus would get very upset with me if I'm like, hey babe, let me buy this like super expensive special paint and all this other stuff to, you know, electroplate one mini for my army. Probably get smacked. But my wife is a lovely woman who puts up with my constant childish behavior. All right. Let's get this second round of edge highlighting done with some Dawnstone. And these shoulder pieces will be fairly well complete. And then I can start working on these. I need to get the chains on this other shoulder pad. I haven't done that yet, but it is in the plans to get that completed. And I have to paint the back of it and the chains. But I have been slacking. Actually, I just don't have time to do anything. Everything takes too much time. To get my Dawnstone thinned out for this round of edge highlighting. Trying not to cover up all of the Dark Reaper that I did as my first layer. balance that out. Every time I add paint to the palette, I end up with way too much paint in my brush. And then it starts drying in there, and then the paint doesn't want to flow off. It's annoying. Yeah, it's getting those nice crisp corners done. Looks so good. A little bit extra for this line right here. I should have taken a little bit more care to fill that gap in. But it is what it is. But slowly but surely, we're getting through this guy. Things I wish I could make go faster. But if I was able to go faster, it probably wouldn't look as good. Oops. See, this is one of those pieces from a little ways away, it looks great, but when you get up close to it, you're like, oh, got so many smudge marks on there. But like I said, they're so tiny. There he is. How are you doing? Dream big, build small. How are you tonight? Just engaging in the monotony of the old edge highlights. Everybody's favorite part of doing minis. Morning, remnant of chaos. How are you doing? I mean, it's evening here, but if I remember correctly, you're across the pond, so it's almost 10 o'clock here, so 2 o'clock in the morning for you? That's very early. 4:41. I have such a hard time remembering where everybody's from because, I mean, people pop in and pop out. It's like, okay, I know some guys are 6 hours ahead, some guys are 8 hours ahead. It's like, which one's which? Also varies on platform as well. It's almost 11 in Ohio, almost 10 o'clock for myself. I agree with the statement on painting faces. And dream big, build small if you're wondering like who else I'm talking to. I'm also live on Twitch and YouTube. Although nobody ever watches me on YouTube. YouTube is the graveyard for my streams. Obviously, if you're watching full screen on TikTok, you can see my Twitch page scrolling across the bottom. So I had to paint an Inquisitor for my Custodes, and it looked great until I tried painting the eyes. I am very familiar with that struggle. And I will tell you my secret for doing eyes. I start... What color am I using? I start by painting the eyes with like a Corax white, kind of an off-white color. And then I will paint the face around the eyes, do a wash, just to kind of bring the features of the face out a little bit more. And I've given up on trying to dot the eyes. Micron pens. Just line it up, give it a quick stab with the Micron pen. Your eyes end up looking fairly close to how you want them. So those eyes were done, painted the whites first, the face around them, and then Micron pen at the end to dot the eyes. That has helped my face painting immensely. That is my preferred method after many struggles and a couple of very crazy-eyed space marines as a result of those struggles. One of them, it looks great on him. Let me go grab him real quick, but he's got some very angry, crazy eyes. this neophyte right here, and has very wide eyes and looks very angry at whoever has crossed him. I actually got that with a paintbrush, and then shortly after that gave up because I couldn't ever get it again. But can't remember where I saw the micron pen trick, but I tried it and instantly adopted that as a method for painting eyes. And sorry as I go silent again, doing this tiny little box section right here. All right. Once I get that done, it's easier just to wipe the brush up the edge and start moving a little quicker again. But trying to get this little edges of that box blocked out are always a little difficult. So brain shuts down on being able to do anything extra other than paint around tiny little box. Yes, definitely trying to get these shoulder sections done this evening. As we're almost to that signature part of the Brutalis Dreadnought and getting to be able to do those claws. Yeah, which is why I use sub-assembly when I'm painting. There's so many, super fine, tiny details on these models that if you completely put it together, you'll never be able to paint it, which would frustrate me. Because I'm all about the little extra tiny details that add something to the mini. Whether it's the chest seal on the Space Marines that gets covered by a weapon. I always want all those little details painted. Which is why, this Dreadnought's taken me 36 some odd hours to paint so far. Oh, thank you for the extra likes getting me to 3K. I appreciate that so much. Get me back in the popular live section of TikTok. And that's what I do when I'm able to watch during the day while I'm at work. I'll come across somebody, just start spamming that heart button to make sure that they get into the popular live category, get some more folks in watching them. Not exactly sure on how to share the lives. I'm a total TikTok noob most of the time. Uh, but I do try and, I do what I know how to do to try and help, other miniature painters out, creators, trying to help them get some more visibility. Yep, got to support our friends. This is such a niche hobby too. So it's like the chances of you just randomly coming across a uh, miniature painting stream or miniature painting video on TikTok is probably very small until you break into that algorithm of saying, oh yeah, that's cool. I like seeing that kind of stuff. So every chance I get to try and help somebody out, get them another viewer, another follower, just get them in front of more eyes. I try and do what I can. Because in addition to, helping them out and, tricking TikTok into showing this stuff to more people, means that hopefully eventually more people will start picking up the hobby and picking up the games, and then we end up having more people to play games with. And I'm all about growing a fun hobby with friends. It's just like with online games. The more people you bring into the game, the more chances you have of meeting somebody cool and creating a lifelong friend through gaming. And I'm all about creating lifelong friends through shared interests. And some of the folks I've met on here, just in the hobby, a couple of us, like every time we go live, we're in each other's lives, cracking jokes and, keeping the conversation going. Getting other people to ask questions. Oops. Fortunately, that piece is not going to be very visible. All right. Now that those are done, got all of our edge highlights done all around. Now we just got to go back in and pick up all these little rivets. And that is another piece of the Dreadnought completed. Or almost completed. I have some questions on exactly how I want to finish these up. Because I mean, they look nice, but I don't think I have enough on them. Like, I'll probably put a decal here and maybe some chains on the other side, or a decal on each side. I haven't fully made that decision yet. But allow me to take a moment to put my paints back where they belong before I lose them, because that is my favorite thing to do, is lose my paint pots. Although there are a couple that I use so frequently, I do keep them out. Get this shook up. Shake it up. Now let's go find some rivets with our Stormhost Silver. There's one. I didn't see all those before. And these little tiny little bolt heads right around that shoulder connection that I never saw before just now. I mean, some of them are so far up in there, I'm not going to be able to hit those. So I'm not going to sweat that. But the ones that are out a little bit farther that will be easier to see, I grab those. So many tiny little dots of paint. I was about to flip out because I just saw more rivets. I'm like, no! Did I get those on the other one? But I did. So it's all good. A little spot of paint here, spot of paint there, all over the place. But that's what makes your mini shine. Keep having to go back and forth. I'm like, did I get that on the other one? But I did, so we're good. All right. Well, now that we're at 10 o'clock, I didn't get to go as live as long as I wanted to tonight, but we made it through what I wanted to get painted, and I think this is a good pausing point. So, just to see how things are coming together, we're going to see how things are coming together. Let's grab our extra little bits, get our legs over here, and let's get a good representation of what we're working with at this point in the project. Trying to be very careful to not scratch up our paint. It also helps if we don't put the wrong Melta on the wrong side. Try and make sure our Meltas are nice and lined up. Always worried about breaking that seal off the back. A little squeeze together on that. Oh, those look good. I'm so glad I did that. Gotta love having, extra bits in the box. There we go. Now we're getting more of the complete picture. I don't know, I'm all worried about adding something to the front of those shoulders, and I think we got enough going on up front that it looks just fine. Alrighty, well, I am going to wrap it up there for this evening. And we'll get back with you next time I get to paint. Depending on whether or not I have D&D on Thursday, I might be playing Dungeons and Dragons on Thursday. If not, and I have the time to paint, like people cancel last minute, we'll be back on Thursday. But if you want to watch our D&D campaign, we are currently running Rime of the Frost Maiden. That will be live on Twitch and YouTube. All the videos are saved to YouTube. But hope to see you guys Thursday night if you come over to Twitch or YouTube. If not, I will see you next time we're here at the Hobby Desk on TikTok, if that's your preferred platform. Again, thank you all for coming. Thanks for watching. And we will definitely see you next time.